I'm recording. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are the ARC of High Point, and I'm happy to introduce Laura Sturgis, who, yes, has gone through the process to become a Social Security benefits counselor. Are you guys getting feedback when I talk?
I'm not.
Okay.
I am.
I am a little bit.
You are a little bit? Okay. I'm going to let Laura speak because I have a feeling my computer is acting up. But Laura, I will move the PowerPoint forward as you talk.
Okay. Well, hello, everybody. I hope everybody has a pen and paper because I'm going to jot down some helpful hints, I hope. Is everybody here already in the process of getting Social Security, or are you about to do it? About? Okay. So go to the next slide.
Okay, we got one more in the process.
Okay.
How about everybody online? Where are you in the process?
We haven't done anything yet. He doesn't turn 18 until next November.
Okay.
We're a little ahead of the game.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So
What?
Go forward to the next slide on how to manage it.
Oh, here we go. Here's Ian Lofton. We got one more joining us.
Before what?
Okay, so when you apply for Social Security benefits, you should do it the day before you turn 18. And you can do that online, except for the first initial appointment, you need to go. And actually, when you do go, you need to bring everything but the kitchen sink. I have never had to do that with anybody, so Stephanie might throw some more pointers in there. You have to bring all the oh yes, Social Security card, proof of age, all that good stuff right there.
I think the one thing I can mention is if you have the opportunity, get an updated psychological. It'll make things go so much more smoothly. If you don't have an updated, and that's within 2 or 3 years, they will send your loved one to one of their approved psychologists. And that's where I've found families have issues with getting denied. So it is much better if you have your own independent psychological evaluation.
And I think you have to remember when you go there that these people know absolutely nothing about you. They know nothing about your child. So you actually do have to literally present everything to prove that your loved one, your child, is a person with disabilities. So the names of doctors and all the people that you go to. And then you have to bring everything about yourself, the proofs of income and the living arrangements. For the next slide for that with the living arrangements.
Yeah, the importance of the doctors, you have to give them their names and addresses because they're going to send them in the mail a form they have to fill out to justify the area of disability and what they're seen for. So every single doctor that they see, you have to send their name and address and what they're seen for.
Anne just asked, does it matter if they're over 18? So I'm assuming that you have not gone to go apply for Social Security. So no, it doesn't matter if they're over 18. But when we get to that, going to the Social Security place, and we start talking about the representative payee, chime in, Anne, because I might forget to mention that.
There we are. Oh, wait a minute. We've got another question. We've got another question.
When you say proof of income, is that the parent's income or the child's income?
At 18, it's their income.
Okay.
Yeah. Once they're 18, even though whether or not you have guardianship, once they're 18, they're considered an adult. So they're looking at their income only. So when you get,
What if they
ahead.
don't have any income?
well, that's okay.
That's
Yeah.
good.
That,
Yeah.
yeah. But when you get there, you have to decide whether or not you are going to be the person that is going to manage their Social Security money. So depending on your child, if you want to be their rep payee, then you have to fill out the paperwork for that. And there's a website right there. I don't know. Is everybody getting these slides?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll be emailing the slides
Okay.
out.
All right. So there's a process there that you have, and I've not had to do that. So Stephanie, if
I
you
have.
yeah.
So really what I was told by other moms, which is how I got my information, you don't apply for rep payee until they're actually approved and you get that first check in the mail. So once we got the first check in the mail, I went back to Social Security. You don't have to make an appointment for that. You just have to stand in line. So get there when they open. But you can apply for rep payee and the fair share, which we're going to talk about next, at the same visit. But it's really rep payee is only after you're approved.
And then you have to show that all that paperwork to the bank
Yes.
to be the
Yes.
rep
Because you have to set up a special rep payee
payee
account
account.
at your bank, they'll give you a letter that you take to the bank to set that account.
But after you receive that first Social Security check, you can have it deposited into the rep payee account.
Yeah, it'll come as
Moving forward.
the first time.
Now you have to do this one because you explain it so much better than I do about living fair share. If you, go ahead, you go. I'll jump in.
So the one thing they don't tell families, and in particular, I will say middle class families, is that if your loved one is living with you in their home, in your home, they automatically dock you a third of the money because they consider the dwelling and the fact that they live in the home for free a gift. So the max amount that you can get for Social Security starting this month is 914. I think I remember that correctly. It moved up.
A lot.
A lot. Yeah, like $6 this year.
Yeah.
To 914. You won't get but like 575 if they live in your home. So there is a way around it. And nobody tells you this. It's called fair share. You've got a, the guys here have a flyer. I'll email it out. I've got a 2-page handout that I give to families. So what you have to do is show that they're paying their fair share of the monthly household expenses. And let me make sure I go to this.
Yeah, the next slide actually
The
has
next
it.
slide is it. Okay. So what was explained to me is you need to show what your household expenses are. And this spreadsheet that I've got on this sheet is actually my household expenses. You can only count your mortgage, which can include insurance and taxes. So it's whatever your payment is, but insurance can be included. Electric, gas, sewer, and then food. And so what I did is take the full year, put it in a spreadsheet and got my average because electric and gas fluctuate. And I got an average cost, and you can see that on the edge. And then you divide that by the number of people in your household. And yes, even though you've got a college student who lives out of the house, they still count as you would be 4. Okay. So what you're trying to show is that the monthly fair share of expenses is more than what that 2/3 would be, 575. Now, I don't know if you see mine, mine's at 517 right now, but that was based on 2018 when we filed for Sam. They have allowed me to go up. As in, we've had cost of living and everything. So right now we subtract out 575 for Sam's fair share every month. Now, here's the trick they don't tell you. So once you do that, you write a check as the rep payee, or if young adult is their own representative. You write a check every month to me and my husband. Y'all don't write it to us, but you write it to yourselves, and you deposit that and use it as the fair share of the expenses, because some families do need that for upkeep in the house. Or you can put it in your account and put it in the ABLE account or in some other account, but it is washed from their account. And what that allows, there's two different things that allows. Once you do this, they can never have more than $2,000 in their name.
Hey,
Yes.
can you back up just a second on the, about 2 sentences on the account thing you just said?
Yes. So what part?
Well, you lost me on write a check to yourself when you started talking about that.
Okay, so once you, okay, let me back up real quick. So when I went to apply for rep payee and fair share, I took this spreadsheet and I took one of each bill, and Social Security approved that Sam's fair share at this point was $517. And so every month I would write a check for $517 to pay for household expenses. And if you're rep payee, you're going to get audited at least once a year, and they will always ask the question, are his fair share expenses still $517 a month? And if your mortgage goes up, if it's an adjustable rate mortgage or any other expense goes up, they will adjust it up or down, whatever those expenses are. But they will ask you, have you written a check every month out for that fair share? And this is a way for families, however you want to use the money, whether it's paying the expenses or not. We actually put it in an account in mine and my husband's name for Sam to go to college. I've got families I know who have built in a basement apartment or attic apartment for their loved one. You can utilize that however you want to utilize it. But the reason why you do that is if we're not here, they're going to have to live somehow. And instead of them getting only the 2/3 portion, let them go ahead and start getting that full portion, and you can set that money aside for them somewhere else. So the cost of everything is going up now, guys. Inflation is through the roof. And so make sure you're getting that full $914. If any of you have any questions about this, when
It's a doozy, but there are a couple of questions. Kim has her hand up, but she also put something in the chat, but I think that's what she wants to ask.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kim.
Good evening, everyone. Stephanie, when I did that and I did the full share because at least 26, but the one thing I found is I went to a financial advisor at one point and they told me that I had to claim all that as income because technically she was paying rent in a sense to cover her fair share. So just be careful that the amount that's paid out from the rep payee account, make sure that you claim it as income. Otherwise, the IRS could slap you in the hand for that and charge you some fees. And nobody told me that up
Yeah.
front, so I wanted to make sure I shared that.
I've
My-
never had that come up. I'm gonna actually ask
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I've actually, my brother-in-law is a tax, he does taxes for a living. He's a tax attorney, and he's never told us we had to do that. He does our taxes every year. So I'll go back and ask him.
Yeah,
And then, Lisa asked, does it have to be a check or can it be transferred into an account? And I would say it had to be some kind of check so that you could show it as a rep payee.
Yes, it's, if you do a rep payee account, the one I have at State Employees Credit Union does not allow you to transfer the money in any way. You can only write a check, and it's meant that way so you have a paper trail. You can't have a debit card on that account at all. So that can be restrictive if you want to just have it go into a regular checking account and not be rep payee. You can do that. Now, I have heard some banks allow it, but they really probably shouldn't. It should be set up where there's safeguards around it so that that money is protected.
And I would suggest that on that past slide that you had about rest payees, people actually go back and look at the legalities of some of that are in place. And that's really to protect your child in the event that somebody other than family is being their rep payee. So they do check people and audit you, like Stephanie had said, but that's for the benefit of your child. Good.
Any questions on Fair Share? And guys, we're going through this really quickly. If you have questions later, feel free to give me a call, or Laura.
You didn't put my number on there. I was going to tell you that. I forgot.
Okay, well,
That's
I'll
okay.
add that to the
Yeah.
email when I send it
Okay.
through to everyone.
All right. Yay. So the amount was raised for 2023. It is now 914, where last year it was 840, right? So it went up a lot. In the years past, it was just would go up like $10. So that's a good thing. So if you're applying for Social Security this year, that's what the rent that should be, 914.
Still much lower than it really should be, but there are some bills, there's some legislation right now to adjust that up. These numbers were really started in 1975 and they have not gone up enough at all to match inflation.
And then I don't know if that essential person that you've got in the first sentence, I mean, that is for somebody that was a caregiver from 1974. So that doesn't really apply. I think they're going to phase that out.
Yeah.
Everybody, we're not old enough for that yet. So I don't read that and think anybody can be an essential person.
Okay.
Oh, this is the fun part.
Yes.
Y'all read through this. Has everybody heard this now? Like, is this an issue for you, for anybody who's afraid to let their child work because of Social Security benefits?
How many of you, I'm just
Yeah.
type in, how many of you
Yeah.
heard?
No?
Well, I mean, our son's been denied, and he's got a part-time job. He works 10 hours a week, but they say that's, shows that he's able to earn income.
But that's not a sustainable wage. So he should not be denied at all. Let's talk about that. And Laura meets with attorneys on this issue. So if you have any issue like that, she can go to the
Yeah, you can email me or call me on specifics on why he was denied.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we've heard a lot that people, I don't know where they got the magic number, but they decided that people can only work 20 hours a week or they'll lose their benefits. We've actually heard supported employment people say this. So our goal tonight is to help you understand that there are things that are in place to help you not lose your benefits and to encourage people to work, to not live in the poverty level. So kind of like the fair share things, nobody ever told you about it. So we can move on. Next one. All right, all right. I just can't even remember where you are. To manage the Social Security benefits. I don't even know where to go with this one.
Well, I think basically.
There are incentives, yeah,
Yeah.
that will allow you to work like and get paid a sustainable wage.
A sustainable wage, and that's what Rick was talking about. They say that he's
10
got,
hours a week is not something for somebody to live on.
right.
Actually, the sustainable wage, the SGA for 2023 is $1,470 a month. And that's even not enough for somebody to live on. You can't pay rent and pay all your bills on $1,400 a month.
So let me make sure I understand. If they make less than $1,400 a month, they can qualify?
No, I got into a whole nother part.
Yeah,
We need to go to the next slide.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There are things in place to support work. There's a ticket to work program. If you work with VR, it's my understanding you're automatically put into that ticket to work. And this is where I said, go and get your pens. You can also go to an outside agency of VR, which is called an employment network. And these are people who are supposed to help you maintain your job skills and keep your Social Security benefits to help and guide you through that process so you don't get into that I'm afraid to lose all my benefits type of thing. Did I say that right? There's also things called impairment work-related expenses, which are IRWEs. You can also deduct from your, kind of like fair share. You can deduct them from your total. It can come out of your income part, so you don't have to get dinged for it.
And an example of that might be transportation to and from work, if that is an issue, or it can be
Medical supplies outside of what Medicaid or your health insurance would pay. If you have inserts for your feet because you stand at your job, that's an IRWE. All those have to be approved, mind you, but these are ways to help the reductions of your benefits when you're working. Because there's a formula. I don't know if you printed that out for anybody.
Yeah, it's in here.
Okay. That you have to do to report your monthly wages. So there are things in place to keep you from having your benefits go totally down, so to keep it at a normal, I don't want to say a normal wage, but you know, because it's not very good. If you have a blind person, you actually get a whole lot more expense credits. I'm not sure if you had that. The PASS plan, the plan for achieving support, that is in place for people who want to go to school, you know, buy computers to enhance their career status. That would actually be something that is, let me see, put it, you have to show milestones and timelines. So it's a PASS pot, I'll put it as a pot of money that you want to take $100 a month out of your benefits money to put aside for college. So you won't get dinged for it. The $2,000 mark that Stephanie had mentioned earlier, you won't get dinged. So if you have 3,000 in there, they won't count it against you because you got to pass the plan for achieving support. But because there's milestones, they're not going to just let you do that. You have to have milestones, you have to have proof, and there's a timeline. So if you say I'm going to put $100 a month in the bank so I can go to school, but you don't go to school, then you get dinged for it. Makes sense?
I've got, yeah, each of these, there's a slide for each one of these areas that explain it a little bit. We just didn't want to go through and read everything tonight. We kind of just
Well, and I wanted to just kind of briefly touch on all of it because it's a lot. I mean, it really is. And everybody's situation is going to be very different as to what the work experience is going to be for your child. But the supports that you got, the child the trial work period, you got the pass, and you've got, well, Stephanie can talk on this. She's got workers that work with her son, and it doesn't ding his benefits.
Right. And I think really that very last bullet point is what most people are fearful of, that if you work, you're going to lose your health insurance, your Medicaid or your Medicare. And that is not the case. And there's a slide on down that I'm going to show you exactly how much, and I think I did put it in there. Anyone care to guess how much money an individual can make before losing their Medicaid annually?
More than I make.
Anybody have an idea? Just, I mean, what do you think?
30?
That's a good guess, but no,
Yeah.
higher. It went up this year, and I can't remember the exact amount, but it's a little over $40,000 annually.
I want to say 42, but I
42,
I didn't write it down. Yeah.
I've got it. It's in the slide, but it's
Yeah.
a little bit further on.
You
And-
can work and keep your benefits without the fear that some people have about losing their benefits, as long as Social Security pays you $1.
Yeah.
So even if your benefits go down because your work is going up, as long as you keep $1, everything will stay the same.
And listen, if you're making 40,000 a year, I mean, heck, even if you're making $20,000 a year, that's well over what you're making if you make Social Security, if you're doing SSI.
Well, thank you, Kim. I'm going to take a picture of that publication you got in there.
Yeah. We'll share that with everybody too. Okay, ready to go on?
Thank you. Wow.
All of these slides here are the information with the between all those bullet points, but I do like to point out that in order for us to help you, if we're going to walk you through it, it is really good to order that BPQY. Laura, what does that stand for?
Benefits query.
Benefits query.
Yeah.
You have to call Social Security to order that. But when Laura was going through her training, we did that for Sam, and she was able to help guide us through a situation that we had. But you can order it, but who tells you that you can order that? And it tells you everything you've ever received from Social Security.
And part of that is it will tell you when you're up for redetermination. I mean, I think that's a lot. That comes as a shock for some people, you know, that you have to get redetermined to stay on the Social Security status.
And we just went through it for Sam, and they ask you questions like, has Sam disability changed or improved? Because they're all looking at it as a medical model. You know, has he had a car accident, and can he now perform a job duty? They're not looking at it as a developmental disability, a lifelong developmental disability. So all of my answers is he has autism. He will always have autism. He's a lifelong disability. So I mean, and their questionnaires they send you are like 18, 20 pages long. So,
and I think each person that you talk to, it's not a specialized group. Like, you don't have people in Social Security that you can have. This is the developmental disability department. This is the Indian Reservation department. So whoever you talk to randomly might not know anything about what you're asking. So before you call anybody, here's what I want you to, if you write down this website, ssa.gov/POMS. That's their publications on all their statutes. And it has it in the very top of on the header line of the website, a search engine. So any specific question that you might have, it will take you directly to that. So if you're going to make a conversation with somebody at Social Security, you might want to look that up first. So then you can tell them what you've read from their website.
And their turnover has been just the same as everyone else's. So after a few years, you're probably going to know more than they do.
Mhm.
You know, it's constantly new people that are flowing in. Okay, next.
Can I ask?
Yes.
One question on the, maybe one slide back, remember a CP WIC or WIPA can help you read and understand
Yes.
who and what is that and how do we get them?
So across the state, there are WIPAs, and I can't remember what that stands for. There is one in Guilford County. Her name is Ebony, and I will email you her contact information, but she covers about 10 counties. It's one person, and it's a benefits counselor that's meant to help you if you want to apply for any of these work benefits. But that's one of the reasons Laura went through her training, is because they know they're woefully understaffed. And Laura, the agency you went through is NC ASPE.
Mhm.
ASPE. APSI, sorry, APSI. And the state of North Carolina Disability Rights, the DD Council, there's a huge push for work first, really the whole state, DHHS. And so they're training more people to go through and be a WIPA, and I forgot what a SIPWIC stands for, but in
Wow.
essence, the same thing. They're-
One of them certified, yeah.
yeah. And so Laura went through that training primarily because we had started a supported employment program here, and we keep running up on this. I can't work more than 10 or 20 hours. Meanwhile, we had employers saying, come work for us 40 hours a week. And everybody was like, no, I'll lose my benefits, you know, even though you're getting benefits at the company you're working for. So that's one of the reasons we decided to go through this process and do this. So I can give you her name, and she's really good. I've spoken with her on a few occasions. She's just spread so thin, and getting an appointment with her is really crazy.
Okay, so the Ticket to Work program, we kind of touched on briefly. If you go through VR, it's my understanding that you already get Ticket to Work. And it's supposed to be a safety net so that you don't go over any of the criteria and lose any of your benefits. So the person that you're working with is supposed to make sure that this doesn't happen for you. And I don't want to go, it's too detailed. Yeah, it's really detailed in there. So but I do want to say that if you don't go through VR, there are agencies called employment networks. So if you just Google that, you know, Guilford County Employment Networks or Ticket to Work program, if you Google that, it will all pop up and you can get more details on that. But anybody's that's going through VR, somebody should have talked to you about a Ticket to Work. I'm not
So
sure.
do you want me to talk about SSI benefits?
Okay.
Do you guys know the difference between SSI and SSDI?
DI.
Social Security disability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So SSI is disability for folks who do not have a work history or a strong work history. And that's where the majority of the folks that we support will fall. And I think it's a little bit harder to get approved, but that's why, you know, having the psychological and all of your medical evaluations and IEPs can really help. The one difference is that if you receive SSI, you can never have more than $2,000 in your name, $3,000 if you're married. And then any gift or earnings that someone gives you are going to alter that amount. Gifts more so than earnings. So do you want me to keep going, Laura?
Yeah, and if you're on SSI and you work for 2 years, you're automatically rolled over to SSDI, and you also get Medicare, Medicaid after 2 years. We
And
just learned that, remember?
we've fallen into that. Sam actually has worked over 2 years, and we've just gone through that process, which is another interesting process to go through, but there are lots of benefits if you can get through that first 2 years. But this is how it works. If you do work, really, even if you don't work, but if you do work, let's take your, what is it, 914?
Mhm.
Let's say you make $100 a month. No, that's not enough. 200 a month. They're going to waive or disregard the first $20. It's an unearned income waiver. Then they'll waive $65 of earned income. So for the 200 that we've earned, you're going to subtract $85. So you're left with $115. Gosh, it's, right? Yeah, $115. And then they're going to divide that 115 by 2. So you're left with 57 bucks, 57.50. They're going to subtract that 57.50 from the
914. Yeah.
okay. So that's where people start hearing, well, if I work, I'm going to lose my benefits. But you've made 200. So in essence, you're losing $57 of the 200.
You're
So
still ahead 150 bucks.
always going to be ahead if you work. So here's an example of that, similar to it. Yeah, 750. So that kind of gives you an idea of how this works. It's government math.
And I have little worksheets that I can share with everybody if they want to play with what income would be and what they would actually take home if they made, $500 a month. So if they wanted to do that.
And then if you're under the age of 22 and you're working and you're a full-time student, so for you guys who are going to remain in, school until you're 22, and they're working, you can waive all your money. They'll disregard that rule until you turn 22. And then once you turn 22, they start it all up again. So, but
And I think that's a big one for the folks in there that are 18 right now. That
yes,
you're talking to.
that'll give you 4 years to work and not lose your income.
Yeah. So make sure that everybody takes note with that one.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
a
talked
little bit
about the
about
earlies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
pass. And the
Um,
trial work period. I mean, there's lots of things that are in place. There's a redetermination, there's extended period of eligibility. I guess my thought to everybody is don't be afraid to have them try to work
exactly.
for the future. So
Here's the Medicaid, Medicare benefits. If you'll notice in the little pink spreadsheet there, under Medicaid, the 1916B waiver allows you to still receive Medicaid even if you're making up to $40,301. And I took that right off Social Security's website.
Where
Anybody
can we,
shocked by that?
where can we get the evaluations that you're talking about? I know this is kind of out of order, but my mind's going, I'm at step 1. I've got an 18-year-old who's in her senior year in high school. So I'm really back here at step 1.
So I would go to your primary care physician. I mean, it's not easy to get those evaluations right now, and the wait list can be long. Are you on the list to
We
get
don't
one?
even have primary
Oh, you're okay.
doctor
All right.
right now, so
Okay.
we're-
So go to your primary care physician and ask them to give you a referral. Is anybody in Wake Forest Baptist Health? Primary care? Okay, go to your primary care physician and ask them to give you a referral within your network. That's going to be the quickest way to get one.
Okay.
If you're in one of the major networks, just make sure you do a little bit of research and make sure that the person doing the evaluation understands intellectual and developmental disability. And that they can do an evaluation for someone with an intellectual and developmental disability.
Okay.
And
And
then there's a couple, oh, I'm sorry, I cut somebody off, sorry. Go ahead.
So the school ones aren't any good?
No.
Okay.
Well,
That was pretty quick, wasn't it?
they can be helpful. And I'll back up just a little bit. The Sandhills and Medicaid will not take a school psychological eval at all. They'll only take a clinical now. So that's for the innovation wait list. When I went through the process, Social Security would prefer a clinical.
Okay.
So that's why I tell all families, just go get that clinical. It can be not that cheap. If you wait till they're 18 and they qualify, well, they got to get SSI to qualify for Medicaid, but it is, I think it's the easiest and fastest way through all of this transition to adulthood is just to get that psychological evaluation. Who? Yeah, they're clinical.
If we get into this, because my head's spinning, I majored in art. So going, what? Can we
That's
bring
funny.
this in and let you help? What you got? Do you guys have services to help us with this?
Yes, we can. And just give us a call. We can kind of help you walk through it. I know it's not easy, guys. I mean, this was like, I thought I was really good understanding the school system. This is like a whole nother animal. It really is.
So we did make the mistake of just going to one of Social Security's psychologists for an evaluation. Are we stuck with that now,
No.
or can we still go back and get our own and
Yes.
submit that?
I would definitely do that. I've had so many families that I've worked with who I would think it would be an absolute no-brainer that they get SSI and be turned down. And again, I think it's because I know who they're sending them to for the most part. And I'm not often sure that they really understand developmental disability. So if you get that privately, and when you go to the psychologist, make sure they understand that this is for transition to adulthood and that Social Security has certain language that they need, that this is a lifelong disability, that they will, I mean, the language has to be very clear.
What was the first part you said?
That they have
Transition to adulthood.
transition to adulthood. So the psychologist we went to, it just so happened, had been Sam and Caroline's psychologist for several years through high school, and she really understood them. And her name is Mary Page Powell. If you are within Forest Baptist, I highly recommend going to her. She just truly understands developmental disability. And even if you have a young person like my daughter who does not have an intellectual disability but has pretty significant autism, Dr. Powell really understood what it took to get the services that we needed. So she wrote a very clear report that showed that it was going to be very difficult for us to have a sustainable wage for Sam. So
Mary H. Powell.
Dr. Mary Page Powell in Atrium Wake Forest Baptist here in High Point. There are others.
Now, this isn't something that is developmental pediatrician, right?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
Yes. A developmental pediatrician, anyone who is an MD and can write a clinical report.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have any developmental pediatrician or doctor in their life, anyone who has really good records or knows them really well. But it does need to be clinical.
Yeah, you have to prove everything.
Yeah.
You just have to, there's some questions in the chat box that
Okay.
I'm just gonna go backwards. Reporting the wages, yes, report every month. She hasn't reported yet, so you need to go and report her employer of record and let Social Security know where she's working.
Yes.
And you can do it online, but I would say for your first one, and this is where a lot of people get, nobody tells them to report.
Right.
And because she's only working 10 hours a week, I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal, but this is where you get paybacks that people talk about, overpayments, because nobody tells you to report the earnings.
So
Go ahead.
we got stuck in overpayment, because I was sending the reports in every month. I felt like it was going into a black hole, but I had to send a paper copy in until we got the employer of record listed. It took them 9 months to do that. And I truly think it probably went in file 13, and then we owed back payment because somebody didn't put the information in the system. We did find this trick out from a Social Security representative. We had put money aside for Sam to go to college, and we were putting it in his regular checking account, not rep payee account. And Social Security, they know their checking accounts. They check on 12/01 on the first day of the month, all checking accounts. And if you're over $2,000, you will go into overpayment for the amount you're over the $2,000. So we had put money in his account to start college, and we got dinged for like $2,700 of overpayment. And then he owes it back. So he had to pay 10% of his SSI check until we paid it off.
Yeah.
And that
And
was my mistake.
I would bring, when you want to report the employer of record, and because she's late with doing it, wouldn't she advise her to probably go to the Social Security office in person? Yeah, I would do that too, with paychecks and stuff, so they can show who it is. And then moving forward from that, you can go online.
It might take a little while to get that employer of record, but once you do it, you can file wages online. They have an app, which I'm not real impressed with, that you can do on the phone, but the online version, you have to get an account, a My SSA account for your loved one and yourself. And if you're rep payee, you can just log into your account and say that you're the rep payee for this person, and you can file the wage reports for them.
Yeah. Let me see. Somebody asked, she had a pediatrician and a psychologist. So yes, both those names of both of those people when you apply, because they're going to send paperwork to those doctors to verify information that you're telling them. So yes, use them all, everybody that you take your son to.
Every doctor that they've seen in the last few years.
Yeah. And I don't know about this one, because you can probably give her a good name at VR. She said that VR discontinued support for her daughter, so she lost her ticket to work. You can give her a good, who's that, Kim at VR?
Chris
Chris.
Richardson, is who I've dealt with. I had Alicia, but she moved on. Chris Richardson, who needs this, and I can email you.
Lisa.
Lisa. Oh, Lisa, I'll give it to you.
And I would still, I mean, I've got Alicia's phone number, so I mean, if you don't get anywhere, I would call her and ask her. I don't know.
Alicia's at Beyond Academics
Yeah.
now.
And then the difference between SSI and SSDI, SSI is specific for folks with IDD. You know, when you get your paycheck and they take out FICA money, that's going to Social Security disability. So that's for everybody that's paid into the system. So SSDI is for everybody. And the difference with when we talk about SSI and SSDI for the folks that we're talking about is when they paid into the system for 2 years. That's when they'll be dual. They can get both. But if you or I were to, you know, get in a car accident or something and wanted to be on disability, it would come out of the SSDI. I hope I explained that correct. Good. Let me see. I don't know.
This
Yeah,
is just
everybody-
more about WIPAs. Yeah.
Um,
I will send everybody the WIPA in Guilford County's contact information.
Lisa said the app is wonky.
The app is very wonky. I agree.
They, I think that's what they were doing during COVID, was just working on online stuff and didn't do anything else. I don't think they checked their faxes.
It's a big black hole.
Yeah.
Really is. Anybody have questions?
I'd ask in the chat, is there,
Oh, did I miss
what-
one?
is there a certain IQ score that makes them eligible? I mean, I've heard different things about that.
Well, I know that there is an IQ score for innovation waiver, and that's 69 and below. I really honestly, I've never heard that Social Security has a certain cutoff level. And I know people who have fairly high IQs, but pretty significant mental illness who, you know, get SSI. So I don't know 100% that that is the case. I think, again, if you have a well-written psychological evaluation that shares that working is going to be an issue, because that's all Social Security is interested in, is whether you can work and make a sustainable wage.
Mhm.
So if you make sure that that language is in the psychological report, that's going to be very helpful.
Okay.
So this,
I really want to stress Googling everything first before you ask Social Security a question, because they might not know the answer, or you might get 2 different answers from multiple people. So,
this may not be the right question for this setting, and if that's the case, that's fine. But we were looking into working with the special needs plan.
Yes.
Navigate this.
Yeah.
As an attorney that they work with. I guess now, you know, after the workshop, I'm trying to sort of figure the benefits of going through this on our own. Obviously, we save some money. But I mean, any thoughts, comments on, you know, working with a group like that?
Was that the gentleman, Ryan, down in Charlotte that you went to? I mean, I think he knows what he's doing. I didn't know he would do that for you. If you've been denied disability, that's where I think Laura's attorneys might be able to help us navigate that. there are attorneys who will help you get through that denial process, but typically what they'll do, they'll take you on contingency, and then they'll take a lump sum, because if you're denied at one point and then you get it, you're going to get back pay till the date you applied. So they'll take you on contingency, but they'll get a large portion of your lump sum, from that check. So,
How long ago was it?
yeah, how long ago was he denied?
This 2022 last year.
Oh, just last year.
Okay.
And when did you apply?
I don't remember. It might have been 2021.
So during COVID?
Yep.
Yeah. They were shut down for like 2 years. So, I would go back and get that an independent psychological, and go back. Laura, can you ask the attorneys if you're denied once more, what's the best route to take?
Yeah, would he mind calling me to give me some specifics?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Okay.
It-
all right.
yeah. It's Ethan's dad. I'll have him.
Oh, okay. I can't see him.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay.
I have one more question. I've got to hop off in just a second to go pick up my daughter from Best Buddies
Yay.
University. But is it better for us to get her established? Is it better for me to get her established on all this stuff before she starts to work?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we just need to get her established on this, and then we can worry about work.
Yes. And I'll tell you why. Because they're looking at, can they work?
Right.
And if you have a, history of, yeah, maybe they can work, that may be where they're coming from, but, with a better psychological evaluation, you can go back, I'm hoping, and appeal it. But if they have a work history, then it might be a little bit more challenging, to get approved. I don't think any of our guys should have an issue getting approved,
They
but
shouldn't.
I would do it now. And then once she starts working, I can tell you the best thing I think we ever did was, and it's a challenge for Sam to work. He still, we're lucky he has innovations, and he has a worker that's with him every hour he's there. And it's probably the best thing we ever did for his independence, I think. And
Yeah, I definitely want her to work. I just want her to get these benefits too. And
Yeah.
her IQ is like 52.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that will help her like qualify for all this stuff.
Well, again, if you get that psychological, I think you're going to be much stronger going in. And I've heard people who've had to wait 6 months to go through and get it approved because they need to go back and go through that, getting a psychological. And you
Yeah.
do get paid back. If you get approved, they pay you back to the date you applied.
Yeah.
But why not just go ahead and get the psychological yourself?
And can she go with you when you go to when you go to Social Security?
I totally recommend taking your loved one.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're going in there, and if you go
Let
alone,
them
you're
see.
gonna feel like you have to
Yeah.
justify every single thing that you're talking about. But if you bring her in there, I mean, how can they deny?
Right. And I think that was one of the best advice people gave me, was to take Sam in there with me.
Yeah.
And they can ask, and they will ask questions. Actually, when we went to apply for rep payee, I had one lady who, I'm an advocate and I appreciate other advocates, but she wanted Sam to answer all the questions, and she really tried to talk me out of being rep payee because she wanted him to be his own advocate. And I told her, I totally appreciate that. That's what I do in my job every day. But in this case, I felt as though I wanted to teach him how to manage his money first, and then I would turn it back over to him. And that's my goal. Because I won't be here forever.
Yeah.
Now we're not to that point yet. He's still learning, but my goal is that he be able to manage his money and make decisions for himself.
Is there something in place for people? My daughter, she literally has brain damage in that area of her brain.
Mhm.
So she will never be able to understand money or time. Like, you know, if you say, when did this happen? She says last year, when she means yesterday. So is there things in place for people who can never really manage their money ever?
There are corporate payees that you can do. They do charge, a monthly fee.
Mhm.
And are you talking guardianship or just rep payee?
I'm just wondering, because I don't want to be a guardian, because I think that there are many things that she can, many decisions she can make on her own, that she just has brain damage in certain areas of her brain, and one of it is math. She just can't do math at all.
Well, you can just do the medical and the financial piece. You don't have to take full guardianship. You can do the
Yeah,
other,
but
you know.
when I'm gone, I'm just wondering.
Oh.
Yeah, they do have corporate rep payees.
Mhm.
And I think I could probably get you a list here in Guilford County.
Okay. All right, I'm popping off to Best Buddies. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Does anybody else have any questions? And believe me, we're here if you want to give us a call.
Okay.
Oh, I don't see any more in the chat. If I missed them, I'm sorry.
The rest of the PowerPoint is just our contact information, and we'll make sure I'll send you, if Laura doesn't mind, her phone
No,
number.
my cell number. Everybody in High Point has my cell number. But before you hang up, I want to ask Ethan's dad a question.
Yes.
When you got the denial letter, did it have anything on there about calling somebody for a interview or anything like that in there?
I don't think so. You know, it told you what you had to do to file an appeal. Which, but I read it pretty carefully, and I don't recall anything about, setting up an interview.
Well, I think that one of the guidelines, and I'll have to check again, but I think one of them is that you get to have a face-to-face interview with somebody if you've been denied. So, but it might have been time sensitive. I mean, if it's been a year, they might not honor that anymore, but I'll check into it, and you can call me or email me details, whatever you want to do, however you want to work it is fine. And I'll see what I can find out for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'll have the recording of this probably by tomorrow around noon, and I can post it and send you guys the link. And if anybody's interested in being a subscriber, just let me know. And all these trainings going forward will be free. Well, with the fee.
What's next month again? That might be something everybody wants.
Next month, we're going to do SSI and SSDI combined and the benefits of that. So Medicaid and Medicare dual and insured.
Ah,
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Kim. Will you ever have a session that covers, I'm about 7 years away from retirement, and my SSI I know is going to be up there, and I understand it will impacts her SSI
Yes.
or SSDI or whatever she gets at that point, because she's got a part-time job now. She's been working for like 5 months. I'm just wondering, I'm trying to plan ahead for that, and like for when I retire, how much more I'm going to have to supplement, or what does that look like? And I'm already behind the 8 ball because I didn't know I was supposed to report our income. So I'd like to get ahead of the 8 ball now because I feel like I'm running behind.
Nah.
So yeah, it can be impactful, and if you have someone who has done a special needs trust or an estate planning attorney, which I can give you a couple of names. Kim, the one thing you're going to have to be careful about is that if she makes more than SSI and it kicks her out of Medicaid, I've had families who've had to set up self-settled special needs trust in order to not have to pay copays for innovation.
Yeah, I anticipate based on my husband's and my income that
Yeah.
we will push her up until that point where she'll have to pay copays.
Right.
So
So
that's,
you definitely want to talk to an attorney for that one. I've got a couple names I can give you.
that'd be perfect because I need to
Yeah.
get on top of this. I only got 7 years left. And if I need to start doing some things differently, I want to do them differently.
Yeah,
That happened to my sister, so yeah.
definitely important. to discuss. But this
Thank you.
next session that we're doing is for that very thing, because once you retire, can I say her name? Ellie. Well,
Yes.
Ellie will then be duly covered by Medicaid and Medicare, whether she's working or y'all retire.
Right.
That's an attorney you're having doing next week, right? Next
It's
time?
not an attorney. I do have one that Steve LaFrance just gave me the name of, but this guy is with the United Healthcare, and he does the Medicare Advantage plan, and he's just super good to talk about those benefits.
It's so very confusing.
It's so
very
confusing, guys.
confusing.
It's
Very confusing.
so confusing, yeah.
This has been really helpful. I just want to thank you guys so much for putting this together. I thought I was on top of things, but boy, did I learn I wasn't.
But, but you know, those are the things that nobody tells you.
I know.
I mean,
Yeah.
to report, it's just, I actually had somebody who, she called the local office and they told her not to report. And she actually got somebody at the state and they told her to report. So she called me and I was like, if you report, then they can never come back and say that you didn't. So that's my thing, is just to always report, even if you knock down the SSI amount by a couple bucks. I mean, it won't come back to bite you if you do it. So
Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys.
Call me if you need anything.
I will. I got your email. I didn't
Yeah,
even have to. It was saved in my email bank. No, we haven't chatted in a while.
Yeah, I'll send you the attorney's name.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
All right. Guys, give us a call anytime.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye.
All right. Thank you,
All right.
guys. Good job.
Two quick questions.
Oh, wait a minute. Rick's got another
Oh, no,
couple
I think
questions.
they're maybe just for you.
Oh,
I
okay.
was just gonna ask how I could get the recording of the December one, because I didn't know what name.
And you know what?
She forgot to record it.
I forgot.
Uh,
No, I think I forgot to record the November one. I think I've got the December one. Ooh, and which means, okay, I need to stop it right now.